This episode of Behind the Video is brought to you by the Independent Media Network. The Independent Media Network helps journalists and content creators create their own jobs by building sustainable online businesses. If you're an unemployed or underemployed journalist or content creator, visit imnct.com for more information. Hey everybody, we are back for episode number 30.
30! I can't believe it.
Isn't it amazing? We've been doing this for 30 weeks. I think we missed maybe 1 week in the entire run here, so it's been pretty good. And Tim, you'll be happy to know our listenership is every week we're getting a little bit more. We're not.
We up to 5 people now?
Oh, we've well surpassed it. Wow. We're in the double digits.
Good. That's
So,
awesome.
It's starting to move up. It was funny. We did our show last week on how to monetize your content, and that got a lot of viewer interest. So we are every week we're getting a few more in there, and of course we always want to hear from you. We're going to have a website up soon that you can go to and complain or laud us for our wonderful work. We have no Goldie.
If you want to be a guest on the show, you can contact us as well, and you can do that through Twitter. Is probably the best way, right, Lon?
Yeah, you can tweet us, Lon Seidman, LonSeidman on Twitter, or you can go to my website, which is actually my Google Plus profile, and you can contact me through there, or you can tweet Tim Street on Twitter, and he will get you in touch with me as well. So we've got plenty of options. We don't have Goldie this week because Goldie is I believe she's in Portland celebrating Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving in Portland. That just sounds like trouble. That sounds like if you're going to go someplace to eat, Portland sounds like the place where you're going to gain like 20 pounds.
It'd be highly caffeinated, right? Or am I thinking of Seattle?
Yeah,
Oh, Seattle. Never mind.
Seattle. Yeah.
I got my Northwest all out of whack. So my sister-in-law lives in Portland right now. I think either that or Seattle, one or the other. So we'll get Goldie back on next week. And Tim and I believe we both celebrated Thanksgiving at home, and all of our guests now are gone. So we decided to
I
shoot
still
the
have
show.
a few lingering around. I told
do you?
them to be quiet.
Make no noise.
I'm kind of grumpy right now. I was up late last night. I was up till like 3 and then up at 6.
Ooh, that's early. Although you do have the evil genius facial hair going there. It looks great.
Yeah, this is my my Movember pirate look, so I'll be getting rid of it in a few days. But it's been fun. I tell you, people treat you different when you have facial hair.
I think they
really
do.
do. They really do.
In a good way or a bad way?
Depends, if you like guys coming up to you and, hey, how you doing?
Oh, really? It must be an LA thing. It doesn't happen to me in Connecticut.
Yeah, okay.
That's great. Well, let's look at the week in the broadcast shows before we get on to our topic of the week. And we're going to talk this week about Google Hangouts. We've been doing them for 30 episodes, and we'd love to share with you what we've learned so far. But before that, we're going to talk a little bit about broadcast. And this is from tvbythenumbers.zap2it.com. And let's look at the top 5. So CBS, once again, dominating. Number 5 is Person of Interest. Number 4 is NCIS Los Angeles. Number 3 is the regular NCIS. It's amazing that the spin-off show is doing as well as the original. It's maybe a 2 million viewer drop-off. But
I heard they're coming out with NCIS Honey Boo Boo.
Why not? You can put NCIS in front of anything; it'll make money, apparently. So,
yes.
And CBS's other big show, The Big Bang Theory, is number 2 with also with 17 million viewers. So, funny show. There was actually a viral web video, back to our video topic, of them doing a flash mob with "Call Me Maybe." Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I gotta watch that.
They did it. They pulled one over on their audience and had a big flash mob with that song that has been played to death. Call Me Maybe. But it was pretty good. Lots of fun. So check that one out. It's on all of your popular video sharing sites. And what do you think the number 1 watch show was?
If I didn't have the chart in front of me, I would think it would be some kind of news story about Superstorm Sandy.
It may have been, but no, it was NBC Sunday Night Football. But there was some great football on yesterday, too, so unless you were a Jets fan. Cable shows coming up this week, or were on last week. Here's something I didn't even know about. Sophia the First on Disney, 5 million viewers at number 5. The NFL was also doing pretty well at number 4. This is the NFL regular season game on the NFL Network, which is starting to really creep up in our rankings here every week. It looks like they're starting to make some progress, and that's a paid thing.
You know
right?
what? Come end of February, I bet they just drop off the face of the map.
That's right. It's nothing but reruns after the Super Bowl. Sports Center number 3 on ESPN, the Monday night edition from 11:46 to 12 a.m. Very specific. 15 minutes of viewership there at 6.8 million viewers. Number 2 is one of my favorite shows, The Walking Dead. 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on AMC with 9.2 million viewers. And just like on broadcast, the NFL regular season game, Monday Night Football on ESPN, garnered 12.8 million viewers on cable this week. So
they had 12 million on cable, and on broadcast they had 18 million.
That's right. So the gap is closing.
Up there. Yeah, look at that.
It is closing significantly. So that was quite a number. So we'll see. What that means for cable broadcasters. Walking Dead too at 9.2 million. I mean, that's almost into the broadcast range. I mean, our number 5 show was 14 million viewers, but I would imagine if you were to look at the top 10, there was probably quite a few on broadcast that had that number. So it's pretty substantial. So, Mr. Bean, are you a Mr. Bean fan?
He's kind of a zombie, right?
Sort of. He's been around a long time and he doesn't age. So
don't tell me he's been caught molesting young boys in shower rooms.
No. Thankfully, okay. He's free of that, although he's looking at the end of the run for Mr. Bean. He has announced that he is going to be retiring soon, according to Yahoo's movie blog. And that is Rowan Atkinson is the guy that's played Mr. Bean, and that's it's been kind of funny. I've watched him over the years. He drove one of those little Trebbies, those little tiny
clown
cars. Yeah, clown cars. So it was always fun to watch that.
He used to shave his tongue.
I think he may have. They do that in Europe. They do the tongue scraping. It's apparently a very good thing to do.
Yeah, he did it with a razor, though.
That's a tongue scrape for you. In sad news, Sesame Street's puppeteer Kevin Clash resigned. Now, last week we were talking about how he had settled a case with someone who accused him of molestation or at least having a relationship with a minor, and that case was settled. But now another case has come out of the woodwork, and Kevin Clash announced that. Along with Sesame Workshop, that they announced his resignation, mainly because all of this attention was taking attention away from, or maybe perhaps bringing bad attention to Sesame Street. So he unfortunately had to step down. And as the Sesame Street statement said, this is a sad day for Sesame Street. And it sure is, because Elmo was a real fixture on that. And like I said last week, I actually had an opportunity to meet Kevin Clash and Elmo last year, and it's really just been unfortunate following all this news. So we'll see what happens next.
Brings a whole new meaning to Tickle Me Elmo.
Yes, it.
Bad joke inserted here.
Yes, too soon. So you can send your letters too. But moving on to the box office, Flight is at number 5 with $8.8 million, $61 million gross. I'm eager to see that one. Wreck-It Ralph, we've talked about that quite a bit. That is hanging on there at $18.6 million, or $122 million overall. Lincoln, number 3, brought in $21 million and 22.
Lincoln has a enhanced ebook out on
Does
the
it?
iPad. Yeah, I'm going to download that when I get done doing this podcast.
And is it something like a second screen for the movie? How does that work?
No, I don't think they want you to bring it to the movie theater. But there's also one for Frankenweenie, which is kind of fun. It's got different things about it. It's kind of like a combination. At least the Frankenweenie one I've seen. I haven't seen Lincoln yet, but the Frankenweenie one is a combination of EPK, electronic press kit materials, and then some of the stuff that the road tours and different things. So I imagine Lincoln is also will have some interactive things in history and stuff like that as well. So,
and do they charge for these books?
It's a free download.
Free? Oh, good.
I think Frankenweenie was too. They're using it as marketing materials to get people excited about the movie. So give it away for free, right?
That's great. And if you're into the movie, you can certainly learn a lot more about it. I used to buy those when I was a kid. My parents would buy me those Star Wars books, the books that would accompany the movie. So after I watched the movie, I would come home and we didn't have VCRs back in those days, so we had to look at books. So this is kind of the continuation of that. I was surprised actually that Lincoln didn't open stronger.
Yeah. Well, I think it came out in a limited number of theaters. So,
okay. So we could be seeing this from that.
I think it's going to get its pants beat next week. I mean, it's also, it's history stuff. I think it's going to take a little while and a little bit of Oscar push to get it going.
To push it over the edge.
Skyfall #2.
No surprise there, right?
Right.
Number 1.
Some kind of vampire movie, right?
Yeah, some kind of vampire thing. And
yeah.
This is like this is, by the way, number 1 is the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2. And I think this is the last movie, right? This is it now, right?
Yeah, I hear it's better than the first, is what the kids are telling me. So
good.
I haven't seen it.
I'm going to take the kids' words for it.
I think all of them, based upon what I'm hearing, are going to get beat by a tiger in a boat with a guy.
And that is Life of Pi, which opens this week. So it looks beautiful. And I hear that the actor who plays, the main character, I don't know if it's Pi, is that his name, was an unknown, right? They just had some random audition?
Yeah, they found him at Sunset Boulevard. I don't know.
Walked into an audition.
I don't know the history on this one.
Yeah, somebody was telling me about that. So, but that is the second most talked about movie on IMDb this week. The other one is The Silver Linings Playbook, and I got to look that one up because I have no idea what that one's about.
Nothing about that.
And that movie is it's already got 8.2 stars on IMDb. And it is here's the description. After a stint in a mental institution, former teacher Pat Celentano moves back in with his parents and tries to reconcile with his ex-wife. And of course, things always get more challenging when he meets Tiffany, a mysterious girl with problems of her own. So it must be like a romantic comedy or something.
Is it a Will Ferrell movie?
It is not a Will Ferrell movie. It is a Bradley Cooper movie. And Jennifer Lawrence.
I saw a trailer for this.
Yeah.
I remember.
And Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's in it. Maybe I'll go see. That's how you hook them. Is you put De Niro in a movie, it gets the guys out. So I love watching his thing. You talking to me? So
Hitchcock. Hitchcock is also moving up the charts, but I hear it's not so good.
That's a disappointment because I really like the styling that even of the poster for the movie. They made it look like something Hitchcock would have made in his day.
I'm hoping I get a screener for it so I can watch it on DVD.
Well, let us know.
But I did watch The Girl on HBO, which is another Hitchcock related movie. It's a made-for-TV film for HBO, and it was entertaining. I liked it. It was kind of the Tippi Hedren story, her life with Alfred Hitchcock, and how he annoyed the crap out of her. And a different side of Hitchcock that I didn't know about, or an alleged side of Alfred Hitchcock that I didn't know about. But it's if you have HBO Go, check it out.
Check that out. That'd be something worth seeing. Now, here's something that isn't really talked about on IMDb, but it is opening this week. And this is a movie from both probably your teenagehood and my childhood, Red Dawn, the remake. Mm-hmm. It is out this week. It looks pretty good. I guess they've changed the nationality of the invaders. I guess initially they were
Chinese.
They were Chinese, and the Chinese weren't too happy about that, so they changed them to North Koreans, I guess. So.
Yeah, and they did that just so they could get distribution in China. Which
really?
I just don't see this movie doing too. It just doesn't feel like it's going to play well in China. But
I don't think so because it's still kind of an anti-communism thing, right? It's Now the original is one of those movies that when you were like back in the 80s thought was like the most awesomest movie ever. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the basic story behind the original Red Dawn was that basically a third of the country in the West gets invaded by the Soviet Union and like their allies from Cuba who invade through Mexico. It's like this weird premise, but and this ragtag group of high school students called the Wolverines become like a guerrilla little guerrilla cell that's out there like terrorizing the Soviet troops, and they're doing all these hit and run attacks, and eventually like they all get. Well, I don't want to give away the ending, but a lot of them get killed as they conduct these missions. And I guess
thought you were going to say they enter a Hollywood singing competition in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's
all kids care about these days.
Yeah, right.
They just want to be famous. It's not saving the world. It's like they want to be on American Idol.
Exactly. So, we used to dream of fighting communism, and they dream of getting on American Idol. So, yeah, at the end of
They
this
want to be
remake,
the next Honey Boo Boo.
that's right. They just want to be the next reality TV star. So, but that's coming up this week as well in the box office. So, moving on to our favorite medium, which is YouTube and independent video. Some interesting stuff topping the charts this week, and this there's been a bit of a little battle going on between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And number 5 on our list this week were a number of videos from the Israeli Defense Forces, who have been really working the social media extremely hard over the last couple of weeks to keep international opinion at least on their side, or at least tell their side of the story. And the number 5 video was a video of a pinpoint strike on the head of the Hamas military wing. It was one of those aerial bombardment footage videos there. 4.4 million views, but there's a bunch of stuff that the IDF has been putting up over the last couple of weeks leading up to this invasion, or this attack on Hamas, and now they're in a ceasefire. But it's really intriguing stuff. They're really doing a lot to tell their side of the story, and Hamas has been on Twitter also combating some of this information that the IDF has been sending out. So it's a war of missiles and explosives and bullets, but also a war of words online, and a war with videos too. It's been interesting to watch all this.
I learned a tip about traveling in the Middle East yesterday. We were talking about this video, and a friend of mine travels the world quite a bit, and he gave me a tip. He said, when you're visiting Israel, ask them not to stamp your passport. They'll put in a temporary page into
because
your
you can't get into like Saudi Arabia or something, right?
Yeah, there are Middle Eastern countries, I guess, that won't let you in, or they'll give you a really hard time if you've traveled to Israel. So they give you like a little temporary page that you can take out of your passport. So there's a good little tip. It saves you some travel time.
Well,
so
there you
won't
go.
Get interrogated.
Tim's travel tip of the week is ask for that special page on your passport. So number 4, and we've had this happen before. Dior, the perfume company, is that what they do?
Parfum.
What's that? Parfum, whatever. So they have this video of people like throwing flowers around, and apparently it got 7.9 million views. Looks pretty cool, I guess, but I don't get it. But some people are really into this stuff because it's getting watched. Flowers and glass making, and the description of the video says, from Grasse to India, Murano to Paris, follow the fragrance trail of J'adore, where creation comes to life. So that's a branding thing if I ever seen one. That's kind of interesting. Actually, it's now up to 7.9 million views, and there's a full version in addition to a 1-minute version. So people like this brand and are happily consuming their content.
Good timing, right? You got to get that stuff as a Christmas present.
That's maybe there's a lot of guys watching, like, okay, I got to get this stuff for my significant other. A number 3 is a amazing soccer goal. I won't even try to pronounce the guy's name, but it's between Sweden and England at 8.2 million views. Grand Theft Auto 5. Are you a gamer, Tim?
I used to be, but not anymore. I'm not up. Although I was checking out a game from last year, 2011, L.A. Noire. And that looks pretty cool. I may play that game.
Yeah, I always find myself playing games like a year later because they're cheaper, and I don't have a lot of time to, it's like those games are like $60, $65. I'm like, well, I don't really have a lot of time. Maybe I'll wait for it to become the classic. A little bit. I wait a little bit longer. Like I'm just getting into Stargate Defender and Robotron right now, and Tron. Wow, yeah, right. Tron. At least those you can pick up and play and then leave them. There's no story that you kind of abandon. But
yeah, that's true.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming out pretty soon, and they've got a official trailer number 2, which as of the time that Jason Perrier, our producer, put this together, at 13.2 million views, and it's still around that number. It's about 13.4 million views now. Pretty incredible trailer. It looks like a cool game, so to check that one out. And that Big Bang Theory flash mob I told you about, CBS stuck it up on their YouTube page, and it's up to 18 million views already.
Pretty good. It's
pretty good. So you like the show, you like flash mobs. This is your.
How many people watched the show last? Did Big Bang? So Big Bang made our list, right?
Yes, it did. In fact, 17 million viewers watched the show.
So the same amount of viewers watched the show as watched this video. So it's a good little promo for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? They're probably, and think about the advertising revenue they're getting off of that video too. I mean, it's
It's
literally
better
all of a minute long.
than starting their own streaming service.
It sure is. It sure is because Disney just dropped theirs, right?
I heard that. I heard that they had some little unknown internet movie streaming service that they're getting rid of.
Yeah,
So
I had no idea. I never even knew they
yeah,
had such a thing. So,
I
but that's
kind of remember here, like when they mentioned it, I was like, yeah, Disney movies, something, and then it's gone.
yeah, it's hard, and this is according to CNET. Part of the problem was nobody knew about it, including us. And it's going to end at the end of the year because it's not been able to generate enough interest or revenue. And I think we're going to see a lot of this stuff kind of happen as time goes on because it is hard to get yourself out there to enough viewers because they're so spread out across all these different genres and
Well, and
niches
you're competing against iTunes.
iTunes and YouTube and things that are right in front of people's faces all the time. It's hard to
Yeah.
do. And speaking of YouTube, according to TubeFilter.com, YouTube will allow users to play the Tastemaker, and it's got something called On the Rise, and it's going to highlight. This has gotten good for people that are trying to get their start. On the Rise is going to highlight channels with fewer than 100,000 subscribers, and if and this is according again from TubeFilter, if YouTube's creator support team is to be believed, could become the next big time YouTube stars. And they're going to highlight 4 innovative creators, and I guess so this is how it's going to work. They're going to pick 4, and then users are going to vote to determine the winner. So of those 4, people will vote, and then the winner will be determined from that. Although I think even getting picked as one of the 4 is probably a good thing because it'll get some more exposure for your channel. So if you have a channel, start doing that because I think Goldie might want to take a look at this for cost of capital too. It's a good way to get out there. So check out the Tube Filter story. If you do a search, you'll be able to see that there.
Just
And
go to tubefilter.tv.
TubeFilter.tv and just do a quick search for On the Rise, and I'm sure you'll find all the information you want to know. TubeFilter's got another story too about gamers that they're going to be launching a video games hub on Hulu, and I guess the way it's going to work is just probably doing more video game content, related content. It's going to have a section featuring trailers, previews, and reviews. I don't know who's doing the reviews, but they will have kind of a gaming channel, and I know Revision 3 is doing
If they got
this.
celebrities to do reviews, right?
That would probably be
Wouldn't
the
that be
best
good?
thing for them to do. Absolutely. G4, not G4. Revision 3 hired Adam Sessler away from G4, and he's been doing a lot of that stuff too. There's a lot of gaming content on the internet, and Tim, you'd be happy to know that there's a huge amount of retro gaming content too.
Love retro gaming content.
So do some searches on that. A couple ones I like. Classic Game Room. We should get him on the show one time. This guy cranks stuff out like there's no tomorrow. He takes there's a million old video games out there. People send him these old games. He does these witty little reviews, really simple,
Hmm.
and he's easily getting tens of thousands of views a week on everything he does. So everything he puts out there gets watched, and these little quick 3 or 4 minute hits for games from all eras. It's really pretty fascinating stuff. So pretty cool. So that is all the news and ratings and everything else this week. So pretty light week in that regard, but it's a short week, so a lot of Thanksgiving stuff going on. And we're going to move on to our picks of the week. We're going to start with my app of the week, and this one is a little complicated, so bear with me for a minute. But I am a huge fan of something called OmniFocus, and I don't know, Tim, if you're like me, you've got a
What does OmniFocus do?
Okay, what OmniFocus does is it helps people who have a lot of things going on in their lives to try to get them consolidated. Now, I could do a whole show about OmniFocus, so I'm going to point you at the app.
Is this like if you had a bunch of different girlfriends, you could just
You
help
could.
organize them?
You could, yep. And if you had that problem, you could use this to help organize your life in that regard. As you know, Tim, my wife is a black belt, and if I ever even thought of that, I would not be on the show much longer or on the planet. but yeah, it helps you manage a lot of, especially for a lot of independent content creators, you most likely have a day job or maybe a couple day jobs, and sometimes it's hard to keep all this stuff in your head. And what OmniFocus is an app for the Mac, the iPad, and the iPhone. Unfortunately, you have to buy buy it on each platform. So you're gonna get into this for almost $200 by the time all is said and done. But it links up with a organizational methodology called GTD, which is Getting Things Done. And just do a search for that. There's a book you can get that can really get you started in thinking in this mindset. And OmniFocus is a really great way to get all of that linked in. It's only for the Mac, but if you are an iPad user, you can use it there. And you can sync it across all your devices, and it's just a really, once you get the system down, it's really great because you can get all this stuff that you worry about out of your head and organized into different projects. And then they also have a thing called contexts where you can, hit the phone call context and call everybody you need to call for all the projects you're working on, and then kind of see where you're at with all of your different projects. Very complicated, but well worth looking into, especially if you have a hard time keeping commitments or remembering to do things, or always stressed out that you're forgetting something. This is a really great way to organize yourself. It's going to take some time, so you need to really get focused on OmniFocus and on GTD concepts in general, but once you do, it's fantastic. There's a GTD Getting Things Done audio book, so you can get that from Audible or iTunes, and that'll really get you the basics you need to really understand the software. So,
what's the price tag on that?
I believe the Mac version is $80. The iPad version is $40, and I think the iPhone version is like $20 or somewhere around there. So it's not.
You'll need a second job just to pay for the app.
Yeah, there's a bit of an investment here, but consider it an investment in yourself. And there's other apps that you can get. My suggestion would be to start with the audiobook for Getting Things Done. It's by David Allen, and there's a whole David Allen company. But get that book first, listen to it, because if you really have a hard time organizing yourself,
if it was by David Allen Greer, and I'd be like, $80. There you go.
Right, you could laugh and go along the way there. So, but it's honestly, I think it's one of those things where if you're again having trouble getting yourself organized around all the different things that you're doing, this is a great way to get more efficient.
Now, how much does Ritalin cost? Like, you get a prescription of Ritalin. Doesn't that help you focus as well?
It could if you have a medical need for that, but sadly I didn't have a medical need for it. I just was disorganized, so I've been doing this GTD method for quite a while now, and it's helped because
that closet behind you. I can see how you got to that. It's all organized.
Well, part of it is you got to have a closet that you just put all your crap in, and that's what I've been doing is load up the closet. Actually, my wife puts stuff in here, so what happens is I have everything neatly organized downstairs.
And you can't tell her anything because she's a black belt.
She's a black belt. She's like, that ain't organized. It's going up to your closet. So what happens is every couple of days she just moves all my stuff up here. She takes my coffee away while I'm drinking it because if I put it on the counter, it needs to go.
And I understand.
And you don't talk back. So it's just, sorry, dear, I won't leave it on the counter ever again. So that's our app of the week. And topic of the week, Tim, we're going to talk about Hangouts today.
Yeah, I tell you, Hangouts has been pretty interesting. I still feel like there's a lot that we have to learn. But one of the cool things, there's so many cool things about it. One, you can instantly hang out. You can broadcast to the world on YouTube while you're hanging out. You can record the Hangout and post that on YouTube later, make it available. You can then turn that into a podcast, although that's not automated as of yet. And then there are different things that you can do, like let people join in. So if you want to tweet out to people that you're doing a Hangout, then they can come join you. So you can actually do like a call-in show. And Lon, you kind of run things from your desktop. So are you seeing a different set of tools than what I see as just a hanger-outer? Yeah,
there's a bunch of stuff that pops up on my screen here. One of the key things to start with Hangouts is the on-air function is what we're using. You can start out not being on air. You can just call a friend and just kind of work on some stuff that way. There's a bunch of apps that you can get. And as you can see on the bottom of our screens here, we have our lower third app running. There's a app called the Hangout Toolbox, which does this. And there's also just one for lower thirds in general, and Tim's running the other one. One thing that I see that you don't see, Tim, is something called Cameraman, and this is great for doing a call-in show. And here's a pro tip. So rather than have to invite everybody to your Hangout, let's say you wanted to do a call-in show, and we've done this before as well. You can grab the URL off of the top of your Hangout window. So if you go into the address bar, you'll see a big URL with a bunch of gibberish in it. You can grab that, throw it into like a bit.ly link or something to shorten it, and hand that link out onto your Twitter feed or someplace else. And what will happen is people can click on that and join the Hangout. And there's a app that's built into the Hangouts on Air called Cameraman that will automatically mute them both with video and audio. So you don't have to have everybody pop in at once and start talking. You can bring them in one at a time, kind of like a technical director would for a television show. So that's a really useful feature there that can also prevent any undesirable imagery from popping up on your show without warning. Another thing that you should do when you set up the Hangout on Air is to turn on the studio version for the audio codec. And what that does is give you a slightly better audio codec than you would if you just used the default one. And that's typically used by musicians, but I also use it as well because one of the other things you can do with a Hangout is after the show is over, it automatically uploads it to your YouTube account. What I do is download the show, the YouTube through the YouTube control panel. There's a download MP4 option, and I pull the audio out of there, and then that's how you're listening to it through our podcast. So we're using this in a very efficient manner. I could record separately and do all this other stuff, but I found it's a lot easier and quicker just to grab it off of the audio there. So those are some of the things that I see, Tim, that you don't. But a lot of these things you can just play with. On Air is available to everyone, and it also puts you on YouTube Live. So the second you start broadcasting, you will appear on YouTube Live to everyone that is subscribed to you or anyone that happens to stumble across it. It's a standard YouTube link. So I do like to download the show and edit it a little bit and zoom in the video, because what you see on a Hangout is everyone else on the Hangout, and it gets a little weird just to see everybody at the lower part of the screen on a regular video. So, and there's also some other controls where you can mute your microphone so that if your dog's barking because the mailman just delivered the mail, you can mute your audio. You can mute your camera if your significant other is walking behind you and they're unmentionables. And there's also different apps that third-party developers are developing for this as well. So it'll be interesting to see what we discover as we keep using this. And what's amazing is how much hardware this replaces. So as when we first started the show, we could not do Hangouts on Air for the first week. So episode 1, we recorded on all this hardware I have downstairs that I use for different video projects.
We couldn't even, you had to be invited to use Hangouts in a live setting, right?
Right. We were trying to lobby Google
being able to record it, and you had to be in a private beta, and so we were early on in this.
Yeah, it was not easy initially, and what it does is, as you can see, this camera switching that happens is something that we don't have to do at all. So once Tim starts talking, it'll switch the video right to him. You don't have to push a button or anything like that. But you can also screen share too. So if you're looking at a website that you want to share with somebody, you can just pull that right up. Really, it gets better every week. So we're really excited about it, and it's a great way to do these roundtable kind of discussions and podcasts. It's really built for that because it is so easy, it is so frictionless, and you don't need all this hardware that you used to need to get something like this done. So I'm a big fan. I don't know about you, Tim, but I think you might be too.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and you can use a microphone from your iPhone headset, your earbuds, or you can use a special microphone that USB plugs in. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the audio. I wouldn't recommend just recording off of your laptop or your desktop because you'll get a little bit of an echo.
That's right. Yeah, the key is to get some good isolated audio. And I found too, people with really cheap Windows PCs, you'll hear the fans running in the background, and sometimes even hear the other audio streaming back in. As you can see, Tim and I are both wearing headphones, and the reason we do that is so that we don't pick up an echo from the microphone on the computer picking up the speakers. So that's really the first rule of thumb, is just get some headphones on so you don't get that loop back, and find a quiet room and just start broadcasting, because the beauty of this format is it doesn't cost anything. So just experiment with it, get some friends, and talk about something that you like, and you'll be surprised what can come out of it. So that is the Hangouts. Do we have anything else we want to add on that, Tim, or is that
cool? No, I think that about wraps up our show.
It sure does. So thank everyone for watching. We normally record this show on Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 Eastern Time on Thursdays. This week, of course, Thanksgiving was a Thursday here in the United States, and Tim and I and Goldie had a lot of family around, so we couldn't scoot away to do a show for an hour, but we'll normally be doing it live on Google Hangouts. So if you follow us on Google+, when we go on air, it's another feature, you will see us broadcasting immediately. So you don't even have to look for us. It just pops up on your screen. And that'll do it. Tim, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at 1TimStreet.
You can find me at lonseidman.com, LONSEIDMAN.com. And that'll do it for this episode of Behind the Video. We are a wrap. Stories for this episode were compiled by producer Jason Perrier. Follow him on Twitter at JASONPERRIER. Behind the Video is a production of Ape Digital Incorporated and the Independent Media Network, LLC. All rights reserved.